I'm Amanda Danning, and we will be unveiling Sieur de Marle. Sieur de Marle was one of the colonists who left France in about 1685 and came to the New World to try to settle here on the Gulf Coast. During an effort to try to get help for the struggling colony, he traveled northeast until he got to about Texarkana, where he died. The account around his death is, well, it's been questioned. What we've done is we've taken photographs taken in 1940 and the measurements that were taken in 1940 and recreated a three-dimensional skull model that I can do a facial reconstruction from photographs and measurements. It's the first time that we know of that this has been done. So we took photographs and translated them into a 3D program inside a computer, which turned out a hard 3D model out of stereolithography. And from there, I did the sculpted facial reconstruction of Sieur de Marle. And today, we'll introduce him to the public. Sieur de Marle was found in a very traditional Indian mound burial up near Texarkana, Texas. And he had been buried by the Indians. According to the journals, he had gone down to the river to bathe, but he didn't know how to swim. And La Salle's nephew went down to the river to check on him and found that he had slipped in and drowned. That was what was written in the journals. The issue comes in 1932 when they dig up the remains. They find the remains of a European, determine that he was French, and there were also 2 French musket balls approximately where his abdomen was. So it raises a question why he might have drowned. Was it slipping, or was it slipping after he got shot? There was a lot of tension on the trip between La Salle's brother, La Salle's nephew, and Sieur de Marle and some of the others. So of course there was a lot of tension. La Salle ultimately was murdered, and Sieur de Marle actually had a hand in that. So the thought is possibly the nephew of La Salle took revenge on Sieur de Marle for having a hand in helping kill La Salle. You know, the particular challenges on this, because working from 2D, and you know, now we take 91 measurements when we do measurements of the skull. In that day and time, it was less than 40. And this was in 1940, and they took, I think, 37 measurements of the skull. So we have photographs. One of them is the one that the frontal view is so distorted that there's no way to even line it up with the profile. So translating that information there into a 3D skull and taking you know, the measurements and forcing a computer-generated normalized skull model into those dimensions, and then trying to give it the nuances that we see in the highlights and shadows of a photograph took a long time. And it's inspired me to do more research in this area, and I think we'll be working on moving this technique farther along in science. So this is a one-of-a-kind, first time to be able to bring historic person from 1687, I believe is when he died, to face with the public when we have nothing, when we no longer have the skull. We don't have the skull anymore. So, and there were no images of him, no drawings. So quite a fun project to be working on the first. He is very local. One of the most important anthropological finds in this area was basically Fort St. Louis, and the marquis was found there. He had been murdered by the Karankawa, thrown out on a field for the scavengers to have their way with, and then when the Spanish came back through, they gave him a Catholic burial. And so that's how these remains were preserved at all, even in the condition that they were in. I don't think I don't think he's very handsome. There is a ruggedness about him that some people seem to like so far, but I think he's a little more Neanderthal-like. He does have a very thin skull frame, the same as very many French do, and the same as the Marquis Sablonnier had, but he's a little coarse. Marquis Sablonnier was landed gentry, and he was a little more refined, not quite as rugged, shall we say. I think even as much as I'm not a big fan of the Sablonnier, I think he's a little better looking than Sieur de Morel.